ジャパンキャストのビデオエピソードへようこそ。ひとみです。
Horu desu. This is Japancast episode what? 63.
63.
63. Hi.
Hey.
I'm injured today and on back pain medication, so it might be like a psychedelic episode. Yeah, so let's see, I have my notes here first. Well, first I just wanted to say thanks to Rick Wolf, the host of the show House Calls, for having us on his radio program yesterday. It's WOWO Radio, so thank you to him. He was having a benefit show for a family. Wife's husband had died, and she had 4 special need children. So they were doing a fundraiser, so...
Amish,
Amish bake sale. Really good food. So we appreciate that. Thanks to Rick for having us on his show. And this episode is going to be a really awesome one. I did an interview with a guy named Terrence Walker, and I'll fill you in later on that. But if you're interested at all in working in the anime industry, or you want to do your own, definitely stay tuned to this episode and check it out. All right. I think up next we're going to have some vocabulary.
Hey.
Okay. But first we wanted to thank our donators for keeping us going. We really appreciate that. And one of these days we're going to do a Google chat thing. We've been meaning to do it, but
I know.
Your computer died.
And I'm still copying
recovering
stuff
from that. That was a big mess. So we're recovering from that. We may just do it where you just randomly...
Can I use my Google laptop?
Yeah.
Do it?
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
So we might do that one of these days. Just turn that on. That's for
Google.
$10 and up monthly donators. And then the $20 ones, of course, get to do Skype with you.
Hey.
And no matter what, no matter how much, you always get show notes eventually.
Eventually. I have to... you know what? I deleted all the multiple files from
good.
From that particular file,
the backup.
Right. Show notes file, but not
Okay. Still have to clean up all that stuff. But you get show notes and you get your questions usually answered, unless they're
I think I'm
super
5
difficult.
show notes behind. I know, but
Okay. Where's our friend Donald? He's going to just come right up here. Break down the door. Anyway, head to jcast/donate if you'd like to keep us going and share the love. Up next, we have some vocabulary. So before we go to our cool interview, this week is what?
Thanksgiving?
Which we talked about last episode.
Yeah. Thanksgiving in Japanese is kanshasai. Kanshasai. Kansha, to give thanks or to thank somebody. And sai is the same kanji as matsuri, festival. But we pronounce kanshasai, not kansha matsuri, kanshasai. So, and then what? Black Friday?
Black Friday. What's that?
Black Friday? The sale でしょ?
So because of that, we're going to talk about stuff sort of related to shopping.
Okay, the first vocabulary, お金. What's お金?
Money.
Money, お金.
It's actually just kane, right?
Yeah, but we usually say お金. Kane is kind of
rude, rough.
Yeah, certain nouns it's better to put o. It's not necessarily polite. It's just you just need to put o before certain nouns, and this is one of them. お金.
Okay.
And then 現金 means cash. 現金.
And it's the same, I'm just looking on your notes here, it's the same kanji.
Yeah, kin part, yes.
Which is gold, right?
gold, yeah, or money.
Okay.
Like Friday, or we use this kanji
Right,
for
yeah.
Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So, お金 means money, and then 現金 means cash. And then クレジットカード what would that be?
Credit card. But that's not very usual, right, in Japan. People, and maybe a little more now, but it's not.
Yeah.
Most people carry cash.
Yeah.
So you could go into a shop if you're a foreigner and bring out your credit card, and some shops might not even really be.
Small shops
Yeah.
may not accept credit card.
Yeah.
We use credit card to buy like bigger items, like
Okay.
to pay monthly, you know.
Okay. Same with here then.
So we say クレジットカード for credit card.
Okay.
And then, let's see, 価格 価格 means price. Or you can say 値段 also. 値段 price. 価格 or 値段 for price. And next, お釣り. You know お釣り?
Change.
Change. お釣り.
I always remember with otsuri, if you're like in a restaurant, you keep your change.
Yeah, you do.
Because you don't normally tip
No, we don't.
in Japan.
In
So,
Japan, no.
so they'll come after you and
Yeah, if you don't
otsuri.
pay. Yeah. お釣り、お客さん、お釣り。はい、so お釣り change. And お店
That's like just store.
store, yeah. 店 or お店
That's like just a generic word
yeah, in
for store.
general, yeah, store, shop. はい、お店 And discount store. What's that?
Discount store.
はい、we say discount store. はい、discount store. Next, デパート
Department store,
we say デパート
which is short for department.
Yeah, department store. But we don't say department store. We say departo, just departo.
It's kind of like apartment. You don't say apartment. You say apart.
Yeah, aparto. And we don't say supermarket. We usually say super. Or we might say supermarket. But we usually say departo
Okay.
or super, supermarket. Right? And next, 安売り
Yasui. Sounds like yasui.
Yeah, 安い the same kanji 安い cheap. And 売り means to sell. And 安売り means sale.
Okay.
Something is on sale. And then if you add the kanji 大きい dai, you know, big, 大安売り which means big sale.
Big sale.
Huge sale.
That's what you want to look for.
大安売り not just 安売り大安売り
Would they use that on like a sign
Yeah.
in the store?
Yeah,
Okay.
you see.
So that would be really good for those of you getting show notes eventually to memorize these if you're going and you want to look for a big sale.
安売り大安売り sale, big sale. And then one more. 特売特売特 this kanji 特 means special.
I was gonna say tokubetsu.
特別 right, like
Yeah.
as in 特別 special. So this 特 special and buy this kanji is to sell something. 売る the same kanji as 売る to sell. But 特売 means special buy.
Okay.
So you might see 特売品 Hin is an item or stuff. So special hin, sorry. 特売品 特売品 means like a special buy item.
Oh, okay.
Like this week's, like eggs or milk.
Great.
はい、特売 or 特売品 item.
All right.
Oh, and お中元 and sebo? You
What are
did
those?
research?
Yeah, and they said for department stores, those were the best times to find sales. So what are they?
お中元、お中元 we do this summer. during the summer.
June and July.
June and July. And then osebo for winter, December. So ochugen, basically those are gifts, presents you give to like your clients or your bosses or
So sort of a standard
relatives or
standard thing.
Kind of expected if you're in the business, if you have company and you.
That's very good then. If you're going to be working in Japan, you better know this.
Yeah.
Probably a good idea to know that you're expected to do these things.
Ochugen and osebo. Usually, items like ham.
Ham?
Ham. Or beer. Or olive oil. Or canned items, canned food items.
Really?
Or whiskey, maybe, some alcohol. Those kind of things. It's like a set. You know, here too, Christmas, you buy like a cracker and cheese and
they have
sausages or like
those gift sets.
Yeah, that kind of thing, but bigger version. Like you pay like a cheapest one would be like $20 or so and up. So if you can, if you want to spend $100, $200.
Whiskey and a ham. Cool.
Or summertime, maybe noodles. We eat noodles, like somen or hiyamugi, those Japanese noodles.
Cool.
Hi.
All right. Is that it? Cool. All right, let me look at this here. So up next we have our interview with Terrence Walker. But first, before we do that, just wanted to ask you to check out Audible. Go to jcast/Audible. You can sign up for a free trial. Pick any audiobook you want, download it, and keep it. You can cancel anytime you want. Personally, if you like podcasts in general, you probably would like audiobooks. I love audiobooks. I didn't pick any this week, but they're definitely really cool, and they're really well made. They have like good voiceover people usually. So check them out. And up next, we'll have our interview with Terrence Walker. Okay, so this week I had a chance to do an interview with Terrence Walker from Studio ArtFX. Terrence is an artist and an animator who's currently living in Shanghai, China. And I knew of him because a few years ago he came out with his own anime. He had done everything himself. He wrote it, directed it, did the animation, did all the voices, everything. And it looked like Japanese style, yeah. So he got a lot of fame out of that. And then since then he's done manga, he's done more anime, and he also has been touring all over the world teaching studios and individuals how to do anime in the Japanese style. Because, again, he became very famous for being able to do that style. So up next we have my interview with Terrence Walker. Let's check it out. All right, so welcome to Japancast. Good to have you here. Thought you could maybe introduce yourself and sort of tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got started as an artist, that kind of stuff.
Well, as a brief history, I'm Terrence Walker from Studio ArtFX, and I'm currently doing a lot of work in independent animation, but I got started working in the video game industry. I've been an artist for as long as I can remember holding a pencil. I mean, I started drawing as a child, started with Marvel Comics. I was very interested in Marvel Comics when I was young, and I was trying to draw my own comic versions of Spider-Man or Conan the Barbarian, and very interested in a lot of the comics they were doing. About the time I hit middle school was when a TV show called Robotech appeared on American TV. At that time, perhaps I didn't know it was Japanese or from Japan. I just knew it was different. and I knew that this was something extremely cool, and I wanted to do this kind of thing. And so my drawing style totally changed from that point, and suddenly I began drawing more like that. I began to buy the Robotech art books and those type of things, and really got very deep into anime before anyone really knew what anime was. And so I'm lucky to a certain degree in that I've known for a very long time what I wanted to do with my life. You hear so many people talk about being able to figure out what they want to do. They go to university, they even finish university, they still haven't found their calling, but I've known since a child that when I saw that show, I wanted to do that. And everything that I had done since then was to get me to the point of being able to do that. So every time I got into computer graphics, learning new software, it was all for getting to be able to do that. And so over time, I began to work in the game industry, got great experience working for some amazing artists, and really built up my skill. And I don't want to make this story too long, but there's an important point. Sometime in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a computer called the Amiga. It was the Commodore Amiga. And this computer was incredibly powerful for doing graphics and video at that early time. And I had started really hand drawing using a program called D-Paint, my anime-style cartoons on that computer. And it had programs that would be somewhat similar to what we look at Adobe Premiere today. And I was able to do the editing and put these things together. But then that company went out of business. And it would actually be some years before all the technology came together again to make all these things possible. And everything that I learned in the game industry, even how to do sound, how to write music, I began to apply to that. And around the late 90s, early 2000s, computers were once again able to do all of the things that that old computer could do. And that's when I made my first anime-style short film, which was called Understanding Chaos. And that's what really got me started.
And that was that in Japanese?
Part of it. The first half is in Japanese, and then the latter half is in English.
And how did you learn Japanese? That was one of the things that I think people would love to know is, like, you know, what, are you self-taught or?
That's an interesting story in and of itself. When I was young, I was always very interested in China and learning martial arts and that language. And I had a friend, me, my friend, and my brother used to study martial arts. We were living in Florida at the time. We were studying a Japanese style of martial art, but we were still very much interested in Kung Fu. And my friend went into the Air Force around the time he had finished school, and his goal was to be sent to China, but he was instead sent to Japan in the Air Force. Once he was there, he began sending me all manner of books, magazines, manga, and everything else, and that really began to build up my interest. So I began with self-teaching using books he had sent me, and I got up to a certain level so that by the time I went to university in Tucson, Arizona, and for unknown reasons, there is a very large Japanese community there. They, I believe, have an exchange program with a school in Nagoya, Japan, so there were tons of Japanese students, and I began to practice by speaking to them. Eventually, I did enroll in a class, and what was interesting was I was able to skip the first two classes because of what I had learned. They basically said I could take this test, and if I pass it, I can jump right into, you know, the current classes. And so I took the test and passed it based on what I had taught myself, and then I continued in the actual university classes. Around that same time, I also ended up with a couple of Japanese roommates, so now I was really immersed in the environment, listening to it every day, hearing it every day, of course still watching anime every day. And so that's what really began to build up my skill.
Oh, that's great. So that's some inspiration for everybody watching. If you practice and you get to college, you may even be able to skip a little bit if you work hard.
It makes a difference. It makes a difference. I was really into it. And so, I mean, I would eat up every book he sent me. My friend would send me magazines. I started to try to read the kanji, and I mean, I really got into it.
Oh, that's great. And then your first project then had some Japanese. And what other anime and manga kind of projects have you been working on? Can you sort of talk about those too, like all your different projects?
Basically, the progression from there was I did my second film. It was all in English, but it was still done in the Japanese style. I'm very much influenced by Production IG. They're probably my favorite studio. And what had happened was I finished up this second film, and I was using Lightwave 3D, one of my favorite softwares, and TV Paint. At that time, it was called Aura. And using the software, I was putting together this film. And there was a Japanese company called D-Storm, who is the distributor for Lightwave in Japan, and they invited me to fly out to both China and Japan to do speaking and demonstrations about my technique. And when I was out there, one of the guys is very connected with the anime industry. He's on some type of anime council. I forget the name of it, but he got me into Production IG. And so I went into Production IG. This was at the time they were working on Innocence, the Ghost in the Shell 2 movie. And there was a guy in there, a Lightwave artist, who had seen my first film. And he had commented on my blog, about a year and a half earlier. And so I actually got to meet him when I was there. And he showed me some of the CG they were doing on Ghost in the Shell 2. They were also very deep into the Ghost in the Shell standalone complex series. Many people may not be aware that a series like that is not necessarily produced on a weekly basis like some of the cartoons that we see on TV here. That series took something like 3, maybe almost 4 years to complete because it was a 26-episode run. It was all done in advance, so they were already working on that back in 2002 when I was there. They didn't allow me to look at it, though. Like, as I moved towards that room, I saw the layouts of a lot of their drawings on the wall, but then they closed the door before I could really get in there and see anything. And also, as unfortunate as it is, we went to the office of Mamoru Oshii, the director of Ghost in the Shell, and he shares an office with Hiroyuki Okiura, the director of Jinro. And they were both not there, so that was unfortunate. When I went there, but their office was so cool. Couple of things. On Oshii's side of the office is all guns, because I'm sure, but just guns all over the walls. And then on Okiura's side, I'm sure if you've seen, Okiura is also the character designer and animation director of Ghost in the Shell, and he's the director of Jinro, and his desk and his office just full of drawings that literally just make me want to quit. They're so unbelievably good. I look at that and I think I will never be this good ever in my life. I may as well stop now. That's how good his drawings look. And I saw some drawings from Innocence, the Ghost in the Shell 2 movie, and it was really awesome. A few years later when I got the DVD of that, and I saw that drawing on his desk, so it was just an amazing experience. But I really learned a lot. Just from talking to the guys there. After that, we all went out to the big dinner, drinking, KTV, and all the usual things that happen in Japanese business. And boy, I learned so much that really affected my own production process. And that's really what led me to World of Hearts, which was the manga I did for Tokyo Pop. After I came back from Japan, I had seen that my own work was so much more popular there than it was in the U.S. and in other countries. I had taken 2 cases of my DVDs. I was self-published at the time, and they allowed me to ship 2 cases of my DVDs in advance. And when I got there to do the show, they had a booth set up for me. I sent them high-resolution artwork. They printed it out, and they set up a nice booth for me with my artwork on there. I sold out my DVDs in just a couple of hours after the show. And then I did a number of press interviews. A number of different magazines came to speak with me, so I saw, wow, my stuff is so much more popular over there. So I thought about doing more work in Japanese language for that market, and I started developing World of Hearts for that purpose. But about the next year was when I was approached by Tokyo Pop, and they wanted to develop World of Hearts as a manga as opposed to a film, and down that road. And of course, they took my previous self-published films and they published them on the Anime Concept to Reality DVD.
That's quite a story. again, really inspirational because, like I said, we get so many people who write in and say, I want to do this. How do I do this? And a lot of times, I don't mean to be discouraging, but I know you can't just walk into Production IG as a gaijin off the street and go, give me a job. But to hear that, you were there, you got to go there, you got to meet these people, and, it's just really inspirational. So, it's good for people to know that you shouldn't give up.
That makes me think of another thing. There was a gaijin who worked in Production IG who also was not there on the day I went there, but I had talked to him online before and after. His name was Justin, I believe, and he worked at Production IG for 2 or 3 years. And he's, of course, fluent in Japanese, but he shows that it is certainly possible for someone dedicated enough to really go and get a dream job in the anime industry. And while I was there also, I talked to some very high-level people inside Production IG, and maybe because of the connections I had with D-Storm, I could have gotten a job in there had I wanted to. But at that time, I was in the middle of my own film, so I had to go back and finish that. But, the possibility did arise, and I probably could have done it. And, connections are important. The same guy, the guy on the Anime Council, he also very well knows Makoto Shinkai, the director of Voices of a Distant Star. And, he has his new movie, just came out a couple of months ago, I believe. And I didn't get to meet Makoto Shinkai. We invited him to our show, but he was busy and was not able to arrive there. But his DVD had just come out. I knew about it. I had been following it because I'm so into independent animation. So I knew about it for a long time, and I had been following this production. And when I was at D-Storm, I just happened to be walking through the office, and I saw the DVD on someone's desk. And I was like, you got to be kidding. This is out already? And the guy told me about it, and he said I could go to Akihabara and I could get this disc. And so me and the guy from the Anime Council, the day after the show, we scoured Akihabara. It was sold out in every store we went to. And finally, one of the last places we stopped had one copy left. And I was going to buy that DVD to bring back with me, And so I've had some limited contact since then. But once again, it shows how, it is possible to really be involved in that world. In fact, I hope to possibly hook up with Comics Wave, which is his distributor, for some of my future projects. And so we'll see if I can make that happen in the near term also.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Now, you were talking about Lightwave. For somebody who's starting out, is there any kind of software, anything that you'd recommend that they learn, or does it really not matter?
I think it really does not matter. You hear this over and over. It's really about the artist, not the tools. But if I had to recommend something, especially for someone starting out, I would actually recommend Poser. Poser, unfortunately, is not the greatest animation tool in the world. The animation is actually a little bit difficult, but so many other aspects of it are just so easy. And, I mean, if you look at some of the galleries on Poser's site, yes, there is a considerable amount of bad work, but there is also a considerable amount of really good work in that software and another software that works very well with Poser called View Infinite. And there is some amazing work being done by people who have no industry experience, who have never worked in real film or games, because the software is becoming more powerful. And it's not just that software. I mean, every software is really making it easier for artists today. I mean, you look at ZBrush. I actually have never, and I almost regret never getting into ZBrush, because the stuff that's being done in it is just blowing me away on a daily basis. But I think a lot of the software is really making it easier. It makes it easier for me to do my own film, but I think it also makes it easier for beginners to really get in there and create something that looks good, and certainly good enough to be encouraging, that they will not want to quit, because early on, some of the software was so difficult that someone might easily give up. And I think the new software kind of eliminates that aspect of creating your own work.
Great. What about drawing skills? I mean, is it possible if you can't draw at all, could you still work in the industry? Could you still do something?
It is still possible. I don't recommend it. There's no replacement for good drawing skill. And I would recommend anyone start taking life drawing classes. Take a notepad outside, just draw what you see. But yes, it is actually possible, because, I mean, I know some great artists. A good friend of mine is the guy who does all the VFX on the CSI TV series. Now, he can't draw a stick figure, but he's an amazing CG artist. You know, and I know quite a few guys who cannot draw, who are very high level in the world of CG. So if they're using software, especially 3D software, to achieve their goal, it's not absolutely necessary to be able to draw. But being able to draw and understanding traditional animation is a huge help.
Now, I noticed on your website you had a lot of stuff about how to do your own anime and manga and things like that. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Well, yeah, I actually started with that very early on, and I made that one of the selling points of my first independently published DVD was we show you how it was done. You know, my short film was only about 10 minutes long, and so I attached about a 45-minute featurette to show every aspect of how I made it on that DVD. And so from there, I basically continued to do that with everything that I've done, and so I really got deep into trying to teach this method. And one of the reasons is I always thought it would be great if there is an army of independent artists creating new and original work that's something different than a lot of what's coming out of the mainstream. And, you know, it'd be kind of an independent revolution. There would be so much more content of different styles to view. That's one of the things that's great about the Japanese manga and anime industry is, unlike other animation industries, there's everything. There's something for everyone. And I think we need independent artists to see that happen here. And so I got into that, and I took it in some different directions. Like in 2006, I did an 18-episode podcast series called Anagen, which is still based on teaching how it's done. And I went some into the technical, but I also started really looking at the actual anime industry and show some techniques from other artists, how they do things like that. And so I made that a big part of everything that I do, always wanting to show how it's done, show people how they can create their own work. And I'm doing the same thing here in China. I'm actually in Shanghai, China at the moment. And I'm doing the same thing here, doing some training. I go to a lot of universities and do a lot of traveling and speaking, showing off the independent animation techniques, because a lot of people are really unaware that one person can make a complete animation with the technology today. And I always make it clear that it is the technology that is making this possible. It's not like I'm some special animation guru who has skills that no one else has. I'm leveraging the technology. The software and hardware that exist today make this possible for anyone to do it. And I really show that very well in my latest course. I call it Final Independent Animation Training, the last course you'll ever need. And I basically took everything that I've learned up till now and put it into a course that is over 30 hours of video training, and I have that on my website. And so that's really the ultimate of everything I've learned, how to leverage the technology to be able to create your own work. And that's what it's really about. And I always make that clear in my lectures when I'm traveling around China, is it's about the technology. And one of the stories I tell was how back in 2000, when I made my first film, my room was full of equipment. I mean, I had huge DAT recording machines and cables were running everywhere. It was hard to move around my bedroom at the time. Now I'm on a single laptop, and that single laptop can do everything that whole room full of equipment could do back then. It's about the technology.
What's the website? We talked about your website, but what's the URL?
The website is www.studioartfx.com. And I've been running that since 2001 or 2002. I had a long-running blog on there, something like over 1,100 articles. And unfortunately, it's not up there now because Blogger recently stopped allowing FTP publishing to your own domain, forcing you to use their domain, and their domain is blocked in China. So I can't even grab my articles to pull them and put them back on my site. But one of these days, maybe when I happen to travel again, I will pull all those articles and put them back on my site, because there was a lot of information that I've learned over the years, how to create animation, how to copyright your work, just covering every facet of doing your own work.
That's great. That's really great resource. Again, like I said, we get so many people who want to do this, so for them to be able to go and find this information is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they would be able to check out a lot of the things, because I don't just have training videos. I also have a book called Animation on a Shoestring. And it's not a technical book so much about software and these things. It's really more of an inspirational book. It includes my story, the one I told a little bit of here, but also some other independents who really made great success doing their own thing. And it just talks about the road from starting with nothing to be able to end up self-publishing or to get a real publisher. And I follow a number of creators who have done that. And so I have a book like that. I have my podcast series, which looks at both technique and looks at what other artists are doing in the industry. So there's a lot of information up there that could be really helpful to people who really want to do this.
And it is. It's. I think there's something to be said for self-creating, that you're not working for somebody else and working on their thing. It's yours and you own it. And
yeah, I think that's extremely important. And I did another interview very recently for Animation Career Review, and one of the questions they asked was, the best and worst aspects of working in animation. And one of the best aspects is anything that you can see in your head, you can put on that paper or put on the screen. But one of the worst aspects is, particularly when you're working for someone else, is that you cannot see inside their head. And so if they don't really know what they want, then you find yourself really lost on how to create for someone else. And I noticed that when you're doing client work, clients aren't visualizing as much today as they used to. They don't really have a clear idea what it is they're looking for. And so you end up having to prototype so many things that they might be able to choose something. And then even after they choose, while you're working away on that, they might go out and see the latest blockbuster and then come back and decide they want what they saw there. So, it's become so much more difficult. And when you're doing your own independent creation, you have so few barriers between here and the screen, and that's what makes it really fulfilling.
Oh, that's great. Let me see if I had any more questions here for you. Oh, you had said before we started recording you had something new, and I was wondering, could we share that with our audience, your newest?
Oh, most certainly. My newest animation, I just released it yesterday, and it's called GMO Shoujo. And it's a little short animation about this really destructive, genetically modified super soldier girl. And the company is trying to find a position for her where she won't do as much damage as she is known for doing. So it's a 2.5-minute short film, which is on my site. I'm sure you can download that and cut it into the video if you like.
Oh, fantastic. So, yeah, let's... We'll wrap things up here, and after this, we'll take a look at it. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I know our audience will just absolutely be so inspired to hear that you can do it.
Well, I'm glad to be here and hope I can contribute something.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I actually have some pretty good news afterwards. I got an email from Terrence, and he's actually agreed to create some videos for Japancast on creating your own anime and the industry in general, sort of things that he's learned. He's going to pass on his knowledge. So over the next few weeks, we'll be sharing those videos with you.
Great.
I think that's really awesome of him to do that. So again, head over to studioartfx.com and check out everything he has there. He's just got so much information, just great stuff. And I think he's just living the dream, getting to travel all over and do what he loves. So thanks again to Terrence for helping us out.
はい、ありがとうございます。
And before we finish up the show, just wanted to again ask you guys, as we get close to gift buying season, if you're going to buy from Amazon and you live in the United States, just go to japancast.net, click on the Amazon link. That'll take you straight to Amazon. It's not going to do anything crazy, but it just lets them know you came from us. And then whatever you buy, It gives us a credit, helps us out. It doesn't cost you anything. Takes 1 second, and it helps us. So if you could do that, we'd really appreciate it.
よろしくお願いします。
And I think that's it.
はい。That's it.
I'm going to go lay down and not be able to move because my back is killing me. We'll see you guys next time.
じゃあまたね。